Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, right? So, what I'm talking about today is being in our higher consciousness. We just witnessed it. Oh, Bob and Carlos, thank you. That just touches us, doesn't it? To hear that into music is a way that we can reach that higher consciousness and to realize our Christ within and the Godness that we are. Music is a way to feel that. And thank you to both of them. So I'm Deb Stovall, spiritual leader, and I'm going to continue the study of the 12 powers. So let's look at what are the 12 powers. So Charles Fillmore came up with the 12 powers back in 1920. And this is his definition. He wrote a book called The 12 Powers of Man, and he's very difficult to read, as we all know, if you've taken a C class or tried to read him. He says, the powers are inherent in the mind of being. They are the 12 fundamental ideas which in action appear as powers. It is possible for man to ally himself with and to use these powers and thereby cooperate with the creative law. What in the world does all that mean? Can you imagine living with him? Woo! Honey, just tell me what you want for dinner. Don't write me 4 paragraphs. Well, Myrtle didn't cook. Maybe that's why she didn't cook. She didn't cook. So his mother lived next door to them, and she did all the cooking, and I think she did a lot of babysitting too, because Myrtle and Charles were so busy creating unity. And Myrtle they call her the heart, and they call him the head. He was very intellectual, very scientific, and that's why I love him. Because my background's biology, and I love the science that he puts into his theology. So this is where we've been. These are the powers that we've studied so far this year. We've done 7 powers. And today we're going to do order, which is the second one, and they're not in any order. He didn't have them in any order, but he said these are the powers that are your inherent gifts as human beings. So let's just imagine God in his laboratory, right, making human beings, and he says, they need a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and oh my goodness, they're going to have some power and some strength to get through life. And they're going to have love and life and imagination. So I'll do that next time. They got to have imagination because they got to create the lives that they want. And that's one of the most astounding parts of this theology is principle number 3. Whatever you think is your reality. It's wonderful and it's also scary, right? It's also scary. What I think is my reality. So we're going to be talking about that, because I always talk about that a little bit, because it's so profound. Now, this is very cool. I found this a couple weeks ago when I was working on this message. Lowell Freeman is the oldest son of Charles, and he became, as soon as he was an adult, he became a part of the unity movement. He took over the publications, he took over he handled publications, administration, finance. He was that guy that ran the office. He also looked at his dad's writing and he said, people can't understand this stuff, Dad. And Dad said, I can't help it. It's who I am. It's how it comes out. I'm channeling. So Lowell said, okay, I'm going to make it a little bit simpler. So he took some things his dad wrote and put them in language that we can understand. He says, we are in tune with divine order. When we are in tune with divine order, we are safe, we are happy, wise, patient, kind, forgiving, and unafraid. If you're in tune with divine order, okay? He says, let us now enter into the spirit of divine order and abide there while we cooperate with God in establishing the harmonious kingdom of heaven upon the earth here and now. Well, he's almost as bad as his dad, right? Woo! But he's a little bit easier to understand. So he says we can create the kingdom of heaven right here. And that's our belief in unity. We don't talk about, when I get to heaven, I'm going to be happy. We don't talk that way in unity. Or I've got to please God to get to heaven. We don't believe that in unity. We believe that we can create heaven right here, right now, with our thoughts. We're back to our thoughts. It keeps going back to our thoughts. And you know, sometimes I just get sort of frustrated with God, and I say, why'd you give us that choice on how to think? Why don't we just think these lovely, beautiful, loving, kind thoughts all the time? And God would say, because you have to learn how to discriminate, you have to learn how to judge, you have to know what's right and wrong. That's part of it, isn't it? It's part of being a human, that we have to figure it out. Figure it out. I guess life would be too easy if it was already figured out. I don't know. I can't figure it out. So, but he says, let us now enter into divine order. So we're going to talk about divine order today. It's like my favorite two words. My favorite two words. So Fillmore says the divine idea of order is the idea of adjustment. Big word. And as this is established in man's thoughts, his mind and affairs will be at one with God. So we have to adjust. We have to adjust to what's called God consciousness. If we want the goodies out of life, if you want the goodies out of this very moment right now, then we have to adjust to God consciousness right now. Okay, what's God consciousness? I love that statement, Deb, but how do I do it? Where is it? What is it? You know, I always say the quickest way to get there is to think gratitude. It's so easy. Yeah, but I'm busy judging someone. I don't have time to think gratitude. I'm not in that place right now, Deb. Have you looked at the news? And I go, yeah, you know, I took this vow 8 weeks ago. I was going to quit watching the news. So a friend said, you've got to know the facts. You've got to know what's going on. So then I began to say to myself, I wonder if I can know what's going on and still hold a God consciousness. Can I do it at the same time? So you know how stuff comes across your emails, and you don't even have to open them, and you know what's going on, right? So I had gotten in the practice of, it's pretty good, I'm kind of proud of myself, of sort of scanning the emails, because I have to look for emails from people. You know, I have to, because people here contact me. So I have to skim them to see if anybody's contact me. And so I kind of get the idea of what's going on. And then I thought, can I hold that, what's going on, in a factual, neutral place so that I can hold my God consciousness? Does that make sense? I want to be able to hold both places, because I want to know, you know, I mean, if something really, really bad happens, I need to be aware. I told Gerald, I said, tell me if something big happens. Well, to him, everything's big. So that wasn't a good request, right? But no, he's pretty good about not telling me every little thing. But I think I can. I can know the facts, and then I can hold a higher consciousness. Charles Fillmore said, go upstairs. Those are his words. He said, go upstairs with whatever is bothering you. Go upstairs, see it from a higher perspective. Connect with your Christ within, and then look at it. And that's where divine order comes in. So, 2 questions to ask myself and ourselves about anything, about our thoughts. Are they true? Is it true what I'm thinking right now? well, I'm just really mad at da-da-da-da-da, for what he said or she said, or what's going on in Gaza, or, well, okay. What I'm thinking, is it true? And I like the second one even better. Who would I be without this thought? Because I can hear the facts, and then I'm going to judge. It's just like boom, boom, because that's where our minds are made. Okay, let's just hear the fact and not judge. Who would I be without this thought? All day long, who would I be without this thought? Well, I can't believe that guy that came and fixed our mosquito sprayer, he broke the nozzle off my hose that I water my plants with. Now, how do you break a nozzle off a hose? I mean, that's hard to do. And you know what? And I saw him the other day when he came. I don't like the way he looks. And I had the back door open. And if he can break a nozzle off a hose, what can he do to me? I mean, he's out to break something. And so I kind of looked at him from the window, and I got real back. You can get back real far, and you think they can't see you. But I think he looked at me. And then he went, I don't know if he took the nozzle off or not. I wasn't close enough. But he went out in the alley. He went out in our alley. And I don't know what he did in the alley. And you know what? No telling what he did. I bet he looked in trash cans. I don't know. Is he after nozzles? I don't know. He's putting my nozzle in there. But I had this whole story, you all. I had a movie about the mosquito man. It could be called the Mosquito Man. And how quickly our thoughts, boom, 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 go. And then I kicked the door shut. I thought, he's not coming in here. He's a totally innocent guy. Of course he's just doing his job. I'm sure he's trying to get the nozzle off. It wouldn't come off. And I don't know, it's a cheap nozzle. It probably broke on its own. But isn't that crazy how we make it up? Who would I have been that morning without all those thoughts? I would have kept on studying for this message, and I would have been totally at peace. That's who I would have been. It is kind of interesting, isn't it? I like to study people anyway. Remember that there is a mighty unifying principle of order pervading and sustaining this universe. If this principle were to fail for even an instant, the universe would fall to pieces. The principle is often referred to by truth students, which is what we are, as divine order. Let's say that the moon just dropped out of its orbit. Think about the planets. Perfect divine order. By the way, there's going to be a red moon tonight. Perfect divine order. All the planets, they know how fast to rotate. They know their path. The ocean ebbs and flows. It knows how to do it. The seasons change. The squirrel got my pillow off the patio yesterday. Excuse me, and started tearing it up. You know what it does? It builds a nest. The squirrel knows winter's coming. I got so mad at that squirrel. I said, don't do that. And it looks up at me, so cute. I said, okay. So I threw the pillow out in the yard. I said, there you go. You can have it. Well, he'd already torn a hole in it. And, it's not a real expensive pillow. And I gave him one last year, too. He knows he's going to get it. But he's getting ready. He's getting ready for winter, isn't he? I mean, he already knows. He can feel the air. I got to start building my nest. And he builds this nest way up in this lace bark elm tree. It's huge. My pillow is up in this tree. And I look at this pillow all during the winter. And that's where he is. That's his little bed during the winter. So everything's in order. Everything is in order. Divine order. When somebody tells me something, I go, and I know it bothers some people because I go, it's in divine order. Whatever is happening, it's all in divine order. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it. Divine order, excuse me. Divine order is the perfect love of God expressing itself harmoniously in His creation. It is the love of God is what it is. Every tiny speck of matter is constructed in a beautiful, orderly way. Look at that flower. Flowers bring tears to my eyes. I have tons of flowers on my patio. When I first started dating Gerald, we were in Europe, and we were in Madrid. We were in the plaza. I can't remember which plaza. Excuse me, I got allergies so bad today. I guess they're in order, right? They're pollinating. They're reminding me right now, don't forget us, don't forget us. We're pollinating like crazy. But I took him over to a flower, and I said, have you ever seen a flower? And he goes, yeah, I've seen flowers, you know. And he's probably thinking, we hadn't been dating. He's probably thinking, we hadn't been dating very long. This crazy chick, you know, she's all into flowers. I said, just lean down, and we could still squat down at that time. That was 14 years ago. So we squatted down, and I said, just look at that flower. And he's like, well, are we going to take that chair? I said, no, just look at that flower. He said, you know, I'm getting hungry. I said, no, just look at that flower. It was so hard for him. And he finally looked. And today he will still say that was a spiritual awakening for him. He finally stopped thinking and felt oneness with that flower. I was listening to Richard Rohr, who's one of my spiritual teachers. I love Richard Rohr. Look him up on YouTube, R-O-H-R. He is an amazing Franciscan priest who's kind of blown the Catholic Church, kind of blown it away and maybe up. He wrote a book about the Christ is within. God is within. God is not out there. And he even went to Pope Francis and talked to him about his concept. And Pope Francis said, I think you're right. I think you're right. It makes sense. God is within and God is everywhere. And Richard Rohr says, if you want to have a spiritual experience, just go outside and be still. Be still. Go outside by yourself. Don't take your dog. Don't take your cat. Don't take your squirrel. Just be. Just walk out there and just be. Because everything out there is just being. Nature knows how to be. And our dogs know how to be, don't they? They don't worry. Our cats, they don't worry. They don't plan for the future. They don't regret the past. They're not vindictive. They're not seeking revenge, unless you go on a trip or something, right? They can get a little upset. So, every man's affairs are influenced by the principle of order. If this was not true, we could not be alive. Stress level. There are human states of mind that are not in accord with order. They are worry, fear, hate, and doubt. So when we're in those states of mind, we're in our ego. We're in our ego. And our ego's not real, I don't know, it's just not real conscious of divine order. It's just kind of here, there, and everywhere. Oh, he cut me off. I'm mad. Oh, I can't find a parking place. I'm frustrated. Oh, da-da-da-da-da. Oh, I didn't raise my kids right. Oh, I got to worry about that all day long. I made a mistake with my kids. Really? You know what? I look at them today, they're 40 years old, and they're doing really well. So maybe I made a few mistakes, but they made it. So our stress levels go up, right? Our stress levels go up. And then all kinds of chemistry changes in our bodies because we're having these out of divine order thoughts. So, here we go. The principle of order is always here with us. So it is not a matter of seeking for order in our outer affairs, but of bringing our consciousness into accord with the order that God has already put into our spirit and that expresses outwardly in all that we do. The principle of order is already there. It is in us. We were born with it. It is spiritual genetics. It is inherent. It is within us. Now, do you want to experience it? That's the question. Richard Rohr has this great theory, and I love it. It's around order. He says, you know, in our world, things get in disorder. They get in disorder. If some of us, I think a lot of us, were part of the hippie generation, I was out marching. Yes, ma'am, I was out marching, and then it was women's lib, and it was wonderful. And things were in disorder. And I'll never forget, my dad sat me down, and he said, you know what you hippies have done to this country? I said, what? It's fabulous, Dad. He said, you have upset the apple cart. And I said, oh, that sounds wonderful. He said, and you don't know what to do with the apples. And I said, you're probably right. I hadn't thought about that, but it's been awfully fun to upset it and go against you and your authority. Yes, absolutely, because you stand for that generation. Anyway, things got back in order, didn't they? So Richard Rohr says things are in order, and then they move to disorder, and then they move to reorder. I love that. Reorder. Is that maybe where we are right now? We're in disorder, and we're going to move because it's a law. Divine order is a law. It's a principle. It is a law of the universe like gravity is. So if things get out of order, they will always reorder. If any of y'all have ever been through divorce, which I have, it's disorder. It's very disorderly. I had a hard time working. I had a hard time teaching. My principal called me, and I hadn't told anybody I was going through a divorce. I'm 30 years old. He goes, you're having trouble, aren't you? And I said, yes. I didn't want him to know. He said, I heard you're getting a divorce. And I was so embarrassed. This old man, right? I think he was 50. I can still remember, I was just so, I go, yes, sir, I'm getting a divorce. I thought he was going to fire me for getting a divorce. And he said, well, I just want you to know that I'm here for you. And so sweet. I said, oh, thank you so much. He said, if there's anything you need, he said, we know you're not at your best right now, and we understand that, and we're here for you. It was so sweet. I was in a place of disorder, and he helped me come back. He was one of the people that helped me come back into order, as did time and healing and all of that. So we experience this a lot, don't we? And then we get back into the consciousness of God that we are. I always like to put a Bible verse in my messages. Abide in me. This is Jesus. This is Jesus. He says, abide in me as I abide in you, just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine. Neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine. You are the branches. In other words, abide in God consciousness. Jesus is God, we believe. And he says, abide in God consciousness. Be in the God that you are. Be in the Christ consciousness that you are. And so let's take this into meditation. Being in the God consciousness. As we uncross our legs, uncross our arms, and we open up to this day, to this moment, to this very moment of being in this moment with no thoughts but the moment. Hearing the sounds, hearing the silence in this moment. Feeling our feelings of being here now. Seeing thoughts float away. As they come into our head, we let them float away. As we move into the place that we call our spirit, we move into our spirit, knowing that our spirit is love, our spirit is acceptance, our spirit is abundance, our spirit is all answers. Our spirit is life. Our spirit is the truth of who we are. Our spirit is God. Our spirit is the energy that is us. And we are grateful for feeling our spirit. We are grateful for this knowingness. We are grateful for this peace, the freedom of knowing who we are. And we say, thank you, Father, Mother, God, for this experience we call life, for these opportunities, for divine order. And we say thank you in the name and power of Jesus the Christ. Amen. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here and learning with me and experiencing these beautiful powers. I'm grateful to all of you.